All right, students, these are going to be the last two systems that we're going to cover as far as human body systems, and I'm going to put them in the same set of notes. The endocrine and the reproductive systems, and I'm going to go through the endocrine system first. All right, so the endocrine system and the parts, and you really see almost all the parts there. It's about that many glands. There's probably a few more that aren't on that diagram. But that diagram shows that both sexes have the same glands, whether you're male or female, except for the sex glands, obviously. So in females, ovaries are the sex glands. In males, the testicles are the sex glands. But all the rest are exactly the same. So that's really almost all the parts. I just gave you a few examples on glands. That's the first part, right? And that's four of the ones that you see there. But there's others. And then what the glands secrete, what they release into your bloodstream are hormones. And I think that word at your age tends to conjure up different things, but it's not always just related to things like sexual development. There's a lot of different kinds of hormones, and one of them, that it's common that we really get a little bit every day is adrenaline. You might have heard of adrenaline and how it helps you deal with moments when you're in a stressful situation, but just getting out of bed in the morning, your body gives you a tiny shot of adrenaline to get you going. But it's those kinds of things, those hormones, those chemicals that are released into your bloodstream, and your cells are specifically, there's certain cells that are specifically going to respond to certain hormones and others don't. And your body reacts in different ways to different hormones, but you get hormones released all the time for a lot of different reasons, and that's part of the function. So let's look at that. All right, that's kind of a similar picture where it shows different glands, and then you have your differences down at the bottom. Ovaries and testes are the two different sex glands. But the main function would be controlling the processes like growth and development and metabolism with chemicals called hormones, right? So the growth, right? That you get a slow release of growth hormone from the time you're born all the way to you stop growing. And girls, it's usually 15 or 16 years old. And guys, it can go all the way to 20 years old before we completely stop growing. But that growth hormone is released for that whole period of time. So it could be a very long period of time for the slow release of that hormone. But then that hormone kind of goes away. That's it. Sexual development is the same way. You guys are going through that right now at your age, and it's a slow release of that hormone over a period of 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, and then that's it. It stops after that. So there's some that are very long term, and then there's others like the metabolism thing, but that are released into your body every day for specific reasons. So the reason you get sleepy at night is a hormone release. The reason you get hungry is a hormone release. Or there's a lot of different things. You start to get overheated, hormone release, that triggers the sweating, right? So we get those chemicals released into our bloodstream for a lot of different reasons. And it's long term, or it's daily short bursts of hormone release to get us through each day with normal processes. And we've seen this word before a couple of times, once as it related to cells, and then again as it relates to us as an organism. But maintaining homeostasis, because hormone release is designed to keep your body in balance, and the pancreas is a good example of that too. All of them can be good examples, but I mentioned this the other day when I was talking about the digestive system. Once we eat a meal, our blood sugar levels go way up, and they have to be brought down to normal, and it's your pancreas that releases insulin into your bloodstream so that we can regulate our blood sugar levels. Okay, a little bit from the book here. Talks about receptors on a target cell. There's a little bit about that, and adrenaline's mentioned in that one picture. Then some of the different glands and what they do. Thought I would put that in there. I highlighted that for you. And here's a drag and drop, right? So you'll drag the correct gland into the correct spot on that picture. That's actually from the book, and there's the page number right there at the bottom, or you can go by those diagrams that I have in the notes before this. The next one's the reproductive system, and the main parts, for males, testes; for females, ovaries. Like I just mentioned, those are sex glands. They're also what produce the sex cells in our body. So testes produce sperm, that's the male sex cell. Ovaries produce eggs, that's the female sex cell. And then the uterus, because that's where babies develop. So those are the main parts. Now functions. We've got produce sex cells, like I just mentioned, in the testes and in the ovaries. Produce hormones. So the testes produce testosterone, ovaries produce estrogen. So those hormones, those sex hormones, are the ones that cause us to go through those changes at your age. You know, usually it's between, say, 11 and 15 years old, depending on the individual. But, you know, you go through a few years of that sexual maturity, and those hormones cause those changes in your body. But ultimately, because producing sex cells is important, the sperm and egg, you know, you have to have those for fertilization. Got to have those hormones so you have sexual development. But ultimately, the most important function is producing offspring, continuing the species. If we didn't reproduce, the species goes extinct. Remember, that's one of the characteristics of all living things, reproduction. So reproducing is really the main function of the reproductive system, producing offspring. Gotta have more of these little guys, right? As a species, we don't seem to have too much trouble with reproducing. All right, and then the next slide is a couple of paragraphs from the book on the male reproductive system. Got the read function there, you need that. And the female reproductive system with a couple of paragraphs there and a diagram. The 3 steps of fertilization with also the read function there. Okay. Sorry, going the wrong way there. Then we have a couple of slides that you need to fill in some answers for. And that's it for the notes.